I'm back with Daisy. We're going to tell you the story of the Polar Express because from next week until the Christmas holidays, that's the sensory story I'll be doing with our class. The Polar Express by Chris van Allsburg. On Christmas Eve, many years ago, a boy lay quietly in his bed. He was listening for the bells of Santa's sleigh. His friend had said, "There is no Santa," but he knew they were wrong. Late that night, he heard sounds, but not of ringing bells. From outside, he heard the sound of hissing steam and squeaking metal. He looked through his window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of his house. He put on his slippers and his dressing gown and ran downstairs. A conductor stood with his pocket watch and called, He said to the boy, "Well, are you coming?" The boy said, "Where?" He replied, "Why, to the North Pole, of course. This is the Polar Express." The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas. They sang Christmas carols, ate candies, and waiters danced in with hot chocolate.
Your attention, please. Are there any Polar Express passengers in need of refreshment? My box.
Soon they were travelling through cold, dark forests. Soon they were travelling through cold, dark forests, where wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from the train. They climbed mountains so high it seemed they would scrape the moon, but the Polar Express never slowed down. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. They crossed a barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. There, said the conductor, is the North Pole. The North Pole was filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. There were no elves to be seen, as they were waiting in the centre of the city to see Santa give the first gift of Christmas. The conductor told the children, "He will choose one of you to receive the first gift." "Look!" shouted one of the children suddenly. "The elves!" Outside they could see hundreds of elves. The Polar Express stopped and the children got out. They walked through the crowd and saw Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited and their silver bells that hung from their harnesses were ringing.
Suddenly, Santa Claus appeared. He marched over to the boy and said, "Let's have this fellow here." He was lifted into Santa's sleigh and asked what he would like for Christmas. The boy told Santa that what he wanted more than anything was one silver bell from the sleigh. Santa smiled and asked an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. Santa held the bell high above him and called the first gift of Christmas.
A clock struck midnight and Santa handed the bell to the boy. He put it in his dressing gown pocket. Santa shouted out all the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. They charged forward and up into the air. Santa and his reindeer disappeared into the cold, dark sky. children got back onto the Polar Express. They asked to see the bell. It had fallen out of the boy's pocket. He was really sad. There was no bell. It had fallen out of his pocket. When the boy arrived at his house, he stood waving to the Polar Express, and the conductor called out, "Merry Christmas!" The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. Let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. Merry Christmas!
On Christmas morning, the boy and his sister opened their presents. His sister found one last small box behind the tree. It had his name on it. Inside was a silver bell. He shook the bell. It made the most beautiful sound he and his sister had ever heard.
At one time, most of the boy's friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even his sister Sarah found she could no longer hear its sweet sound. The boy is now grown up, but the bell still rings for him, as it does for all who truly believes. And that is the end of the story of the Polar Express. We hope you enjoy it. Happy Christmas!